All right. Well, good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. As I said, feel free to pop questions into the chat if something comes up or unmute and ask. I have on the call with us today some of the members of the animal science team. So we'll do a little bit of an introduction and then we'll just jump right into what you may need to know. So, my name is Autumn Levine, and I am the coordinator for the 4 H program at New York State Fair, specifically for the youth building. But I do work closely with animal science and with the state fair in terms of animal shows and exhibitions. I also work with our partners in FFA so that we kind of all are working on the same plane. So this is one of my primary responsibilities is state fair and all the wheels and cogs and things that go into making this event happen. Animal Science, would you like to just introduce yourselves so we know who's here?
Brianna, I'll go first. You're muted. Brian
Hi, this is
Ackerman.
Brianna. Oh, I'll go first. I'm the 4-H horse person. Primarily what I will be talking about or answering questions for are the new 4-H 4 horses building. So those questions can come my way. Otherwise, I know Robin's not on today, but she is our superintendent for the 4-H horse program, so I can answer questions about the fair. But many times I have to reach out to her. And Jess is also on. I can punt over to her. She takes care of the educational contests that take place at the fair.
Thanks, Brianna.
Yeah. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Jess Tyson. Like Bree said, I work with educational events at State Fair and throughout the year. And we're doing a new art program this year at the State Fair, which we'll be sending out some more information about as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Brian?
Hey all, so Brian Ackerman, I'm the New York State Livestock and Companion Animal Specialist, so I oversee all animals except for horse and dairy. So I'm kind of the official liaison between the animal science team and the state fair with that. So a lot of the questions do come through me on that, except for the animal specific, I would say, area that goes through that. So welcome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We do have a few other folks in the animal science department that assist. One is Debbie Grunzemeyer. She handles both the educational events for Cooperative Extension 4-H youth at State Fair, and she is the dairy superintendent for the youth department. So she wears two hats. And Barb Jones is also in the animal science department. She a lot of times will answer emails and assist all of the staff there in animal science with state fair things, especially when it comes to the website for animal science. So those folks, those are a couple other names that you can reach out to. One thing that I do want to make really clear is that with State Fair, all of the superintendents that handle the animal science portion of, or the animal shows, I should say, all of the superintendents that hold the animal shows, those are employees of State Fair. We work closely with them to try to make sure that our shows are youth friendly. And that is the other piece to this, is that the shows at State Fair, as far as animals are concerned, with the exception of horses and dogs, those shows are youth shows, which means they are open to FFA, breed association members, as well as 4-H members. So there are a lot of kids from different organizations participating in those shows. The reason I say that horses and dogs are the exception is that those two shows are 4-H exclusive. So you have to be a 4-H member in order to participate in those two particular animal shows. Some of that has to do with the risk management associated with that. But the superintendents are still hired by State Fair for those competitions. So just to keep, there are some lines that do exist between what 4-H does at State Fair and what State Fair is responsible for. So sometimes gets a little muddy. when we're talking to each other. So I just want to throw that out there. As far as the 4-H youth building is concerned, that is 100% my responsibility. It is a 4-H building. And we do occasionally invite other youth organizations that have a relationship with 4-H to have some space in there, but they have to have a relationship of some sort with 4-H programming. FFA is the same, although if you are not aware, FFA will be in a tent. Their building has been demolished. It does not exist. And so they are going to be working on figuring out how to exist in a tent space and utilize our building for a couple of their competitions because they do need some additional space in order for those to happen. So we are working on enhancing our relationship with FFA and building a stronger relationship while we are at the state fair, which then hopefully we'll talk about it at another time, but that will hopefully blossom into a much better relationship statewide throughout the year. So more to come on that. So I'm going to jump right in here. The grounds. The grounds, the west end of the grounds is under a lot of construction at the moment. I've yet to get an update of exactly what has or has not happened yet. I am waiting to hear from the emergency management director as far as what things are going to look like. So we anticipate that the end of the grounds where the FFA building was, where the horse buildings were, we anticipate that they will have cement pads poured, but there will be no buildings. It will still be tents. The horses will still be housed in stalls, temporary stalls that will be put up. FFA, as I said, is going to be figuring out how to exist in a tent, and the sheep will be also housed in a tent as they have been in the past. Brian, do you know if the sheep are going to get one tent or two?
So my understanding is the sheep are going to 2 large tents this year instead of a large tent and a small tent. So they're going to 2 large tents, and the one tent will have the ring and pens in it, as they're expecting a very large influx of sheep in this year's show. So we'll see. And that sheep, my understanding, will be going where the FFA was, and the FFA will be going where the sheep were.
Okay, sounds like you have a little bit more insight than I do on that one, Brian, so thank you. When it comes to accessing the grounds, folks, not much has changed. So for those of you that are well seasoned at attending State Fair, the gates of entrance have not changed. For those of you that may be new, we utilize gates 6 and 7 for our entry and exit points. Those are the gates that give you access to what is called gray lot parking. It is one of the largest parking areas closest to the fairgrounds that you will have access to. That is also the only place that overnight parking is permitted. And as far as I understand it right now, security has approved our process for doing overnight parking, which is I will have a very brightly colored sheet that says 4-H vehicle parking here from this day to this day, and you will need to put that in your windshield so that they do not tow your vehicle. If you need to drive into the grounds, such as when you're going to drop off projects and gain access to the 4-H youth building, or if you have animal exhibitors that need to enter the grounds, they will need to enter through gate 7, and they will drive all the way around the gray lot parking, and then you may drive through gate 11. That is all the way on the backside of the gray lot. That's a great question, Linda. I am not sure what is happening with credentials. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So hold that thought. As far as driving through gate 11, as long as you have delivery passes while fair is in session, you should be able to drive through those gates. They prefer, while State Fair is in operation, that all deliveries occur before 9 a.m. So if you have people that just need to drop off something, try to make sure they understand that the best time is to do it before 9 a.m. For those that are going to be bringing in projects before fair opens, so if you're bringing in projects on the Monday or the Tuesday prior to fair opening, You will be able to drive in without the need for any kind of passes. You don't need to have parking permits or anything like that. That's why the move-in is so much easier if you do it on that Monday or that Tuesday, is because the gates have not opened, they're not tracking things, and you can drive right up to the 4-H youth building to drop off your projects, drop off things. Animals will have, the animal departments have specific instructions for drop-offs, deliveries, whether it's prior to fair opening or while fair is in session. So your 4-H members will need to make sure that they're checking with those superintendents, reading the fair book to know what the expectations are in terms of arrival times, departure times. Oftentimes, they're either very, very late at night or very early in the morning, depending on the species. So let's keep that in mind in terms of when we're talking to those folks that want to exhibit, they need to read that. One of those, for instances, is with dogs. So the dogs must come in through and out of gate 10, right, Brian? They have to enter through gate 10. We had a
Gate
lot
10
of
is who we are, yes, through the security, that's who we agreed with, yeah.
Yes, that is who we agreed with security. We had a lot of issues last year with people being turned away at gates because the staff that was hired for those states did not understand. And so we've arranged with security that dog exhibitors may enter through gate 10. So gate 10 is off of Gray parking. It is a little bit further back towards the beef barns, the pole barns that house the beef during state fair. So that is where you will be able to enter, and that ultimately is where you will be able to exit with your dogs. I highly recommend letting people know that they're probably going to need some sort of like rolly cart or something of that manner to keep, things in, if they need to bring in a cooler with their lunch, if they need to bring in certain supplies, because a lot of the gates do not allow you to drive through them. Especially when fair is in session. So those little rolly carts are helpful. I will also make sure that everybody understands that security and the state police will probably search those items. So just make sure that you don't have anything that could be of question, because State Fair does confiscate things. I've even had things confiscated from kids that wanted to do a cooking demonstration, and their knives become confiscated, and that becomes a problem. So, yes, Brian, thank you. So that is kind of the overview of the grounds. You can find a map on the state's website, which I will pull up in a minute. And we are in the process of updating some of those points of information, including schedules and whatnot for each of the buildings on the grounds. So in the youth building, we'll jump into their booths. I sent out an email about a month ago with a map of the youth building in terms of where people would be. You will not be moving. So I am not moving any district in the building because of space requirements and space allotments and trying to make sure everybody gets every square inch that they can. It's really hard for me to move the districts around. So plan on being in the same place that you were last year. And I do know that we had a little confusion with one of the counties being stuck in the wrong district. And we promise we will make sure that that is rectified so that booth spaces are filled. Having said that, it still stands as last year that because I have given counties and districts every square foot I can, you need to use every display unit that is available in that building. If it's not used, I don't have storage for it. And if it ends up going out to the curb or something like that, State Fair will take it and throw it in the trash. So please, please, please plan to use whatever we have available. We also recommend, again, seasoned folks, you know this, but maybe some of our new folks don't, bringing a toolbox with you that has some basic tools in it. So a hammer, maybe some little nails, staple guns, table cover, anything that you would like to bring to make your booth look really nice or work your space look really nice. Please plan to bring that with you. You can also coordinate with the members in your district so that not everybody's bringing the same thing. You know, your district doesn't necessarily need 6 hammers, right? Maybe one person has their state fair toolkit that's ready to go and everybody can agree to share that. There will still be a little bit of space behind the booth curtains for you to store things, for you to put refrigerators, like little mini fridges, those types of things. We'll still try to make sure that that is pulled out far enough away from the wall that you can use that space, because I do know that that is important for people to be able to store not only the packing materials from the exhibits, but also some other things. The only thing that I do caution is please do not leave anything of great value behind your booth spaces. This is something to especially talk to your teens about. Don't leave your phones plugged in. Don't leave cameras or whatever it is that you might have, because things do walk at State Fair. And unfortunately, in the 4-H youth building, as with many of the buildings, we do not have cameras to track and try to find things. There's very few places on the grounds that actually have 24-hour surveillance. And that goes through the emergency management office. So our building is not one of those. Okay. We will still have the little display cases available if you have small padlocks that you can use. So someone asked me about a project that involved hand carving of a knife handle. Yes, that can come, but it does need to be kept under lock and key, or it becomes evaluated and then it is stored in my office just for safety purposes. So any of those types of exhibits that you have questions about, please reach out to Wendy Richardson, or you can reach out to myself to see how to handle those types of exhibits. Also have discussions about how large items are that are going to go in your booth space. If you need arrangements for an extremely large exhibit that might need a forklift or might need some sort of thing to help move it, I need to know that well in advance, because it is very difficult when someone shows up and just says, I need this, to secure those items to help you. State Fair has a lot of moving pieces and there's a lot of people. And so if I can communicate things to them early enough, usually I can get accommodations. The other is have a plan for those things to go home. I suspect I still have an eagle's nest sitting in my building because State Fair is hesitant to destroy things and it is very large. So just keep that in mind, that things will take up a lot of space if they are large and you have limited space in your booth areas. So please do talk to all the members of your district to have a plan. So that brings us to that's the downstairs. Let's talk about the upstairs, the dorms. Courtney in our office has just finished updating the dorm forms, and they will be the dorm forms will get uploaded as soon as Courtney has access to that box file and can get those new forms updated. And the events registration link has been updated and is live so that you may register people to stay in the dorms. The dorms are utilized by more than just 4-H programming. They are utilized by FFA, they are utilized by sports groups, sports teams, and because they are managed by State Fair, open to any youth exhibitor who happens to be on the grounds. Any adult that is staying in the dorms, regardless of organization, must have a background screening. And it doesn't matter if they're a parent and they're just supervising their own child, because they are staying in the dorm space, which is more like really big rooms with lots of bunk beds in them. It's not a dorm like when you go to college. It's a dorm with really big rooms with lots of bunk beds in them. Okay, so it's lots of open space. Because of that, every adult must have a background screening. All of our dorm staff are fingerprinted and screened through the Department of Ag and Markets. So we take that part of our management and participation in that building very seriously. So just keep that in mind. And they must have an authorized signature on them. So I was having a discussion with some of our animal science folks about this. If you are the person that has the knowledge that that individual had a background screening done, you can sign that form authorizing them to stay in the dorms. So if someone shows up and says, I have to stay in the dorms, but they don't have an authorizing signature, I cannot sign that because I have no knowledge that they had a background screening done. Okay, someone else can't just sign it. It has to be signed by someone who has knowledge that that background screening was completed. So just keep that in mind as you're signing people up for the dorms and making sure that those screenings do happen. Jane, I'll get to your question in just a moment. Courtney says that the new forms are up on the website and you can access those. And I know Courtney has been working to get things updated on the website as well. Activities in the youth building. There's a lot of TBDs. So I am working with the organizers for events and activities. Working on getting the registration forms done, but those are done by the key leaders that handle those competitions and activities. So for instance, I do know that John Bow plans to hold the WEP competition. I do know that we will have the poultry barbecue, the poultry egg prep. Those competitions will be held. Produced in New York, we have agreed that that will happen. And I know that the fashion and textile event, we're working on the name for that, is going to be held. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. So Rachel, it says that the Produced in New York registration will be up by the end of the week. So we'll get all of that information out to you. We will not have a public presentation invitational this year. If you have kids that want to give public presentations, they can register to do so. It just requires a conversation with Wendy and myself, but that is handled a little differently in terms of premiums and is not necessarily something evaluated, but just an opportunity for kids to present to a moving audience in a very different environment than they might have presented in previously. So keep an eye out for our activities and whatnot. We also encourage counties to have activities in your booth space. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be something where people take something away with them. It could just be, let's play, I have this game where we put birds where they live, or there are a lot of different ways to interact with the public without having to do something that they make and take, although you are welcome to do that. I have a massive supply of yarn that can be used. I have a huge box of garden seeds that have been donated, and I will be up to State Fair on the 31st of July for a superintendent's meeting in which I will get an inventory of supplies available and send that out to folks. Those are available first come, first serve as you plan your activities. The hope is that with those activities, yes, correct, Linda. Public presentations can be done in the county booth space. That is absolutely acceptable to do them. It all depends on what your youth is comfortable with and can handle. We are looking for teen leaders. That announcement will come out by the end of the week as far as what we are looking for. There are opportunities for teens to work in the building in a lot of different areas. We'll have GPS, GIS, shooting sports, as well as the evaluations, which are always a critical part of what we do at State Fair. Evaluations will take place the first 5 days and then as needed after that, depending on whether your county has to have a late arrival or an early departure. Do please communicate your departure and arrival needs if they are outside of the full fair exhibition. It's important for Wendy to know that, to make sure that projects are properly evaluated and we get those done before somebody has to leave, or she makes sure she has evaluators available for the late arrivals. I do know we have a few counties that are in that situation because of where your county fairs fall. So keep an eye out for teen leaders. I also am looking for junior superintendents, and some of the animal departments may be looking for junior superintendents to help. That is I hesitate to say a paid position because it really is more of a premium that is paid. So it's not an hourly paid type of a job, but the kids get the experience of working in the youth building or working with an animal specific area. So I am still looking for junior supers for the youth building. I have about 9 that have are currently signed up. The majority of those are returners from last year, but I would love to have some new folks join me. They do need to be at least 16 years of age in order to work and live in the space. And they usually do a 7-day stretch of working in the youth building unless they're doing exceptionally well. And then we offer them the full 14 days. I'll let Brian, Brianna, Jessica, you can talk about some events in the animal science world.
Yeah, I can go ahead and start talking about some of the stuff that we've got going on in the livestock, at least specifically. So I did send an email out this morning about specifically goats. This year we do have somebody that's going to be donating starting a goat scholarship. Kids that participate in, they don't have to necessarily show, but able to participate in the knowledge competition, the goat bowl, the judging, the skullathon for goats. They have a chance to win a goat at the end of the week. It's trying to encourage kids to participate in those events. As far as the dog show, kids that are not necessarily participating in the dog show but have an interest in the dog show are welcome to come and attend. We have a dog booth, not a dog booth, a dog contest that day, a skillathon contest, so that the kids can participate in that. As far as the livestock skillathon, that will be held the first Monday. That is, registration starts at 4, and that contest begins at 5. The state livestock judging is the next morning at 7:30, and that is a joint contest between 4-H and FFA. So that is a joint contest. Kids can double dip on that. The rabbit decathlon, which is held on Sunday, right before Labor Day. It's a rough day. Kids are welcome to participate in that. So there's a lot of competitions. And in the premium book, if you go through the first, I want to say the first 20 pages, actually it talks about a lot of the competitions that we have at State Fair and opportunities that the kids can participate in. The nice part is if the kids don't have that chance to show their animal or exhibit the animal, they can still come and participate in these educational contests at the State Fair throughout the week, which is kind of nice and an opportunity for those kids. I will talk quickly about the dogs booth. If Autumn, are you all right when we talk about the Synology booth right now? So as part of the 4-H building, we do have a Synology booth that is there for all 13 days or whatever the number of days it is this year. So you actually will be getting an email from me that this week. So we have Kathy Chambliss runs that, coordinates that for me. So the kids can come in and from 10 to 6, they can bring a dog in if you have a dog that's appropriate for that. They don't have to necessarily bring a dog. There's activities that are set up throughout the booth and the kids just interacting with the public. So we try to get different counties into that. In the past, it was really 1 or 2 counties over the last several years that did that. And we're really trying to open that up to all counties that have a dog program to get them involved in the Synology booth. That is held pretty much right next to Autumn's office in there. So if there's any ever questions, her or I are usually typically around to answer some of those questions. It's a great opportunity for the kids to interact with the public that have an interest in the dog program on that. So those are some cool stuff that's going up. And I don't know if Brianna or Jess has anything to add to that at this point.
I know that Brianna had just texted me and said her internet is acting up, or her Zoom is. So I'll jumpstart into the art program, and if she's not back on, I can kind of cover her plans too. So I guess I'll touch base on educational things too. The judging and hippology are scheduled for the 25th of August, that first Sunday of State Fair. The registrations have gone out. This year we are doing a Zoom session for all families that are registered. Sorry, my daughter's getting an attitude. Apparently I did something wrong. But so August 7th, there will be a Zoom session for all those attending. We're encouraging those that are the first time attendees to the event at State Fair to join this Zoom, and recommending those that have attended before to also join, along with educators and parents. We're going to review what gates to go in, how they can get their tickets, things like that. So that'll be August 7th with the contest on the 25th. And then new this year, we're doing an art program and we've been working with Autumn a lot on this. So it's a lot like a static exhibit that would go in the youth building with Autumn. But these are art pieces that are specific to the horse program. So whether they're tack boxes or photography or writing about horses or things like that, saddle pads, tack boxes, space questionable, but things along those lines that fit into the horse program. They will have their own entry. They will be submitted to me. And then they'll be dropped off, just like when you bring your static exhibits, they'll come into the 4-H barn that Brianna is talking about or will be talking about. And they'll be on display in there with us for the duration of fair. And there will be a premium for that. So they won't be judged, but they'll be given a premium with it on display. So they're still getting something back for having their work displayed during fair. So stay tuned. Some of that's gone out in the newsletters and such, but I'm gonna do a art program specific email this afternoon with just a reminder and more details in that registration form as well. So that's a new piece that is happening this year.
Look at you look like this.
Autumn, can you help me with this question so I don't get it wrong? Is the premium the same as those being judged, or is it $10 like the dog photos?
It's gonna be handled like the dog photos are. I'm still working to negotiate premium amounts, but this is the best way that we've been able to come up with to get these to fit in because it is a new category. So for now, that is how we're going to handle it, at least for this year. My hope is that we can get State Fair to be a little more realistic about the premiums that are paid to the kids. But that will take some time. So it will be handled the same way as the dog photos, which last year was the first year the dog photos and exhibits got premiums anyways, because they were never paid out previously. So we'll make sure that is done. I understand, Linda. I really do. I really do. I was hoping to meet with the Commissioner of Agriculture on Thursday, but he has now canceled that meeting. So we got a lot of people that we need to sit down and talk to because there's a lot that's problematic in terms of our history and some other things, which I'd be happy to sit down and talk with people about at another time as we try to navigate. I just don't think we'll run out of time if we open that box right now. Anything else from animal science in terms of events that you would like to talk about?
I just wanted to briefly put a shout out for the 4-H for Horses building. If anyone has any questions about that, please let me know. I've been sending out emails. If I can get back on Zoom through my computer, then I will put the link in there. But if not, the staff listserv did get update from the 4-H horse office with a link. So if you don't have that, feel free to reach out to me and we'll make sure you get it.
Okay, great.
And this is a moment for questions. If anybody has them, I'm on my phone and I don't know how to see the chat. So if there's chat questions, Jess, could you read them? Then that's it for me.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So let's talk a little bit about evaluations. Evaluations, as I said, will occur in the 4-H youth building the first 5 days. We will work very hard to get through all of the foods on day 1. What we did last year in terms of making sure that an entire booth got judged in terms of an exhibit area, we will continue with. So if you are in the Capital District and you have foods, we're going to judge all of the foods on the same day for every county that is in that district. That worked out really, really well. And we've actually been able to successfully make it through all evaluations in that 5-day period, which does make State Fair a bit happy because it is cost saving for them. For those that don't know, the judges that we have at State Fair for the 4-H youth building are compensated. It's a very tiny stipend, but it is something that they are given. for their time commitment to be in the building. Wendy, I know, is still looking for a few evaluators. So if you've got some folks that would be interested in doing some of the fine arts, as well as photography or any other area for that matter, the more the merrier. Please reach out to Wendy Richardson with those names and contact information so that she can get them set up with State Fair for a contract. That does take some time. So we are no longer really able to hire judges on the fly as we used to be. So it used to be like, oh, we need a judge for today. Does anybody have one? Oh, we had a walk in, somebody was recommended, told to come up. We can't do that anymore. We have to actually have them on contract prior to the start of State Fair. So if you know anybody, please do share. Other things that Wendy wished for me to share because she's not able to join us today is that we will still be using the universal evaluation form. I will be uploading the new version of that. We had a few words that needed to be kind of changed and modified. So it's not a significant change from what you already have. It's very minor. So I know some of you may have already used them and got them filled out. So it should not be an issue to send the ones that are already done. Much has been pushed behind because of State Fair's new processes for contracts and what has to be approved by them. So there is that. There is a different one that was put up for foods. Again, if they have already used the one that you have, please don't make them do another one. That's just creating more work for the youth that they more than likely will not do, or they will at least be very unhappy doing it. So we will get those loaded. The premium book has been loaded to the website so that you can look at the classes that are available. So please make sure that that universal evaluation form, as well as the information card, I believe, that we provided, have those for your exhibits so that they can be easily put out, easily found, and then the evaluators have all the information that they need. If you have questions about that, please reach out to Wendy. She is the one that handles all of this for me. I can generally direct you to the right person, but Wendy is really the best person to reach out to and ask. Jane, you had asked about the criteria for each division. I'm not sure what the criteria is basically in the premium book, and we did break the premium book out into different sections if you go to the box that is listed on the website. So you can look at each one of the divisions.
Wendy said.
So I think that's what you're asking for.
So when we do our evaluation day, if we use the old evaluation forms that we used to have, they listed criteria on which they were evaluated.
Mhm.
So what we really need is a cheat sheet for each division stroke class that says this is what you're being judged on, because, we want to use the same at district level and county level that we do at state level, because it's not fair for them to be evaluated differently if they go to state. But we don't seem, apparently Wendy said that you have them electronically, but if you have them you don't have them digitally, but if you have hard copies, can they be scanned and sent to us or made available? Because like on evaluation day, we want to be able to give the evaluators a hard copy to go with the universal evaluation sheet, which obviously doesn't have anything on it.
So those are the basically they just used the old evaluation forms, which were set up like rubrics. I believe those do still exist. I will see if I find it, but when it is sent, it is all of them. They're not broken out individually. You will get the entire 129 evaluation forms.
Yeah, so we have those, but there must be like cheat sheet cards. I mean, what do the evaluators at State Fair get?
They use those rubrics, those rubrics, I believe. I may not be, the best person to ask that. So reach out to Wendy and ask about what she gives them, because I'm not 100% sure what Wendy is giving them at State Fair in terms of, the criteria. I just don't know what she gives them. I'm sure there's something. I just don't know what it is.
Okay. I mean, we did reach out to Wendy and we were told basically there was nothing she could send us. And I mean, the old evaluation forms are all over the place in the way they're written and how they're worded.
Yeah, as far as I know that, I mean, the only ones that I'm aware of that ever had specific criteria that was given was sewing, and that was attached right to the old evaluation form. That's why that evaluation form was so large. I don't know what else she gives the evaluators, to be honest. So I can send her a note as well to see if we can get some clarification
Thank
in
you,
terms
Tom.
of what she gives them. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it goes against everything we teach and believe in, not to have clear criteria available when the kids are entering
Right.
projects.
But I think the other thing to keep in mind too is that the result of the project is secondary to the process. So what we're evaluating more now is the process that the youth went through to get to the end product. So it's not so much about what the end product looks like. Yes, there are certain things that they'll get feedback about from the evaluator. You know, you should have baked your cake longer or something like that. But we're focusing more on the process that the kids go through to get to that end product and not so much on the end product itself.
Okay. I'm not even gonna comment on that. So I'll be quiet now.
Okay. Thanks, Linda. And thanks, Brianna. Brianna dropped a link in there for you all. So that I think covers the majority of evaluations. I will again be handling the premium reports and keeping those updated and sending them to folks for you to review and make sure that they are accurate and that I'm not missing someone or they're not in the wrong county. It worked fairly well last year, and by my doing that and submitting it to State Fair, y'all got your premiums about 3 months ahead of where you normally would have gotten them. They will still be paid as a bulk sum to your county, and then your county will distribute the funds to the youth exhibitors. So that will not change. Stage and space. I do have time and space on the stage in the 4-H youth building, whether it's for something that is specific to your county, to your district, or if you have a group that wants to come and use that space, it is available. I did send that schedule out to folks so that you could see when it would be available for any type of exhibition, or if you just need it for a meeting space, let me know. But there is time available throughout the entire state fair for that space to be utilized. Passes and parking. So I've been after State Fair for the last 3 weeks to tell me how they want us to submit our requests. I have not received a response. What I can tell you is that it has been confirmed that you will get electronic passes. They will be like they were last year. They are not giving out hard copy passes. It doesn't matter whether it's for delivery, if it's for the individual day passes, it will be electronic. They also have told me that when we do put in our requests, they want you to request what you actually feel you will need. So please don't inflate your numbers to 300 because you think you'll get 150. State Fair will send you, if they can, exactly what you request. This year, they also have agreed to give me a chunk of credentials. So rather than going to the entry office, if you are short, you would come and speak with me about that, and I should be able to issue those. Yes, great question, Jane. The passes can be printed or they can have them emailed and have the scan code on their phone. So you can go in and you can print them. There are instructions, I believe, that come with them that tell you how to do that, but it will come to one particular email address. But I also have pointed out to State Fair that each email address has a limit. And so we will have to figure out how to manage that. So if you order more than 100 credentials, then we may have to have a secondary email address that can be used in order for those to be redeemed. It's a fault in Ticketmaster's system that State Fair doesn't have any control over because that's just Ticketmaster's policy. So I'm hoping to get an answer by the end of the week so that you all can request your passes, because I do recognize this is extremely difficult when you are in fair, you have been in session, and you're not able to give everybody what they need. I do understand that. It's just State Fair has yet to really understand the urgency behind why we need things as early as we do. But I do understand that they did settle the contract, which means that they have the passes, or at least access to the passes, more than 2 days before fair opens. So more to come on that. And please just keep an eye out from an email from me to try to get those pass credentials to you. And so now I'm going to turn it over if Animal Science has anything else that they would like to share with the group.
Autumn, do you want to give me a share screen?
Oh, yeah.
Opportunity?
Yep.
So we are working on a few things in animal science. I'm going to share. I think you've got to stop sharing so I can share.
Yep. Hang on just a second. I got to make you a co-host first and then stop my share. Stop sharing. There. Should work now.
Let's try this. Oh, let me see where it is. Maybe I'll have, give me a second. Of course, it's not going to show up when I want to open it. So give me 1 second. There it is. Why is it not showing on my screen? All right, can everybody see this? So it's just a State Fair entry checklist on your screen. All right, so what we are doing is, and I'll talk quickly about this before we go into too much. So is what we did this year is in animal science, we put everything into the box and we have it on the website. To be perfectly honest, we're still struggling with State Fair to get everything up on the website. And we still don't have it up there. The link that is currently on the State Fair website is incorrect for entries. So do not have your kids enter yet. We are still working on having them correct that one. Currently, the kids have to put SBS numbers or social security numbers into it. So it is not correct. So entries cannot be done yet. And that's one of the holdups of us actually sending information out to you. So this checklist that we have here is what we did is we went for each species. So each species, it tells you, it has a check sheet. So you can actually will be able to print this off and hand it to kids and say, this is what you need to do if you're showing beef, if you're showing dairy, if you're showing goats, or you're showing, horses, whatever it is, right? It talks about how you need to have your endorsement of your educator, FFA advisor, where to enter, who to send your confirmation email to, who to forward your educator to, right? So if they've got to forward it on to Linda, so they know to send it to Linda. If they're showing a market steer, they have to do the project record book. That's required for them to do this on there. They also need to do the CVI, bring with them the CVIs, a copy of front and back animal registration, a copy of confirmation in your youth email. All right. And then they have to have on file is the Zoom dorm. So I'm going to stop sharing. I just wanted to show you guys all that quickly. Let me see if it'll let me stop share. So that will be a form that we're sending to you guys. We're just waiting on a few things from State Fair. I'm afraid to send it out to you guys so that the kids can enter, because the link that's on there is incorrect still. It's hopefully going to be the correct link, but I never know what State Fair is going to do to me at the last minute. So we're waiting on that thing. This year,
Brian,
go ahead, Autumn.
Brian, Allison just sent the corrected link and I checked it and it is operational.
Oh, hallelujah. So I will double check everything like that on there. So we've been dealing with that. Kids will only enter in one place this year. They will only enter in ShowWorks. ShowWorks only. However, with that said, they will still need to make some copies and send some stuff on. For horse and dairy will be different, right? And that will explain it in the checklist on there. So for dairy, they will still need to send Debbie a few things as far as the overnight housing and the dorm stuff like that. The one thing that we are getting questions from as far as the dorms, the confirmation for the dorms, that is not something that state staff needs. That is something you keep in the county. You make sure that all the kids have that prior to correct autumn. The dorm form is in county only. It does not need to be sent to State Fair or to us on that. So those are a couple things that are on there. With this fact that they're only showing in ShowWorks, Autumn and I and the rest of the team are working on making sure that kids are being credentialed. And by being credentialed, what, you know, so that they're being endorsed by you as the educator on that. So we're asking them to send an email to you of, this is the entries that I'm entering. Once they're entered in the ShowWorks, they'll get a receipt. And we're just having them send that on to you and the superintendent of the show so that they have a confirmation on it. That's one way. The other thing is Allison from State Fair will be sending Autumn a list of kids that are entered, saying these are the kids that are being entered at State Fair on that. So we're kind of doing a double edge checking on that. And the reason being, and this is where it's important, and I will share an example of last year. We had a kid that entered in the 4-H dog show, that participated in the dog show, that was not enrolled in 4-H. He snuck through the cracks somehow. And that kid, if something had happened or that dog had bitten somebody, it was not covered under insurance. So that's a major issue that we're trying to work through on that. So that checklist, like I said, will come through you guys. So it's easy. I know it's like 3 pages long. You can print it, you can send it on, whatever you want to do. I'm hoping to put it up on Facebook so that it's easy. We're just doing a checklist, right? It's just a checklist on that. On there. We also have everything in the box. It also will be on the website and on that. So there's 2 different ways to find it on that. So if it's, you go onto the website, it'll probably link you right to the box on it. To register for the contest will also be on our website, and this will be in an email that I haven't completely drafted. I'm just waiting for the email from State Fair that this is the go-to. Camping, the question of the day that I'm getting questions about. Our understanding, and unless you know any different, Autumn, Brianna, or Jess, if you guys heard anything, our understanding is camping. Once they register their animals, they will get in their confirmation email a link to register for camping. All right, so they have to register their animals before they get a link for camping. That is our understanding. All right, we're hoping it works. That is what we've been told. We don't know if it works, but that's what we have been told at this point on there. So those are, which we tried to streamline it this year by just doing 1 entry. We're hoping this works. The horse does need to print off some forms off the website, and they will be sent directly to Robin for a few things on there. Any questions? I just went really through that really fast. But you will be getting an email with all this information once I get the confirmation from State Fair. It's drafted, ready to go. I'm just waiting.
Yep. Sounds about right, Brian. And Vicky, your question, what if you're an adult advisor and aren't registering an animal? You will have to connect with State Fair directly because that is different. That is a different camping area. The way it has been explained to us is that is a different camping area, and you are not really considered an exhibitor. So that's where this gets a little hairy because this is what's not clear. And so I would say you have to reach out. Allison's, I believe, Brian, Allison's office is the one that also handles the camping. Is that correct?
That's my understanding it's going to be.
Yeah.
They've
So
already
you would-
tried and they've had several glitches in the system. That you get a code for each day and you have to go in each time and put the new code in. And so it was just a lot of back and forth. I don't know that they got all of their days in there, but
Okay.
I was just curious if that was the triggering thing, is that you had to register the animal to get
So
that.
State Fair, yeah, State Fair has 2 different areas that are allowed for camping. One is for exhibitors and is directly connected to those animal registrations. The other one is considered general camping. They don't appear to have something that is for like an advisor or someone who is a participant. Or a non-animal exhibitor. That's where we've got a little bit of a disconnect as far as we're understanding it. And we've tried to get State Fair to understand, but it has not happened yet. So I would say they need, if they have not called Allison directly, they need to call her directly and explain that issue. And we can get you a phone number for that.
I
Allison is
believe they've been going through Allison.
okay.
I think
That's-
one more thing to quickly add in is this year, and I know Debbie would want me to share this, is dairy. In the past, this was a huge hoopla last year with some of the species that have both open and 4-H. Dairy kids, sheep kids, goat kids, any of that. If they are entering in open, there is no longer that opportunity for them to enter at State Fair after they've done the 4-H show. So in the past, if they were in the top 10% or the top 3 for that species, they were able to enter in the open show that day. That is no longer. So if you have kids that are interested in showing in both open and dairy, open and 4-H or youth, they have to enter by the deadline. There will be no ifs, ands, and buts about it this year, is our understanding. So make sure your kids are entering. What I've told my kids, my own personal kids also, we're entering in both 4-H and open, and we'll just pull our entries at the last minute if we decide not to do open, to be honest with you. Right? It's only a couple dollars more to the aggravation to do it. So that is new this year, and that I will guarantee you will be a red flag, and we'll have some very upset families that they're going to find out they cannot enter in open after they show in 4-H. So Emma, the entry link is not currently live and correct. They're due August 2nd. Entries are due August 2nd. I will tell you after this, the entry was not live before this because it was the wrong entry link, but Autumn did just say she just saw it and it is live again. So I will send an email out. You guys, if it is live, I will send that out in the next few hours after this.
Right.
I'm just waiting for the correct link, because if I send it out and it's not the correct link, it's just going to be total chaos on everybody's hand.
All right, so I think the only thing that I had forgotten to mention in terms of evaluations is those exhibit lists that we do ask the counties to submit. Wendy and I have managed to make it so that you can download the blank list and then it can be uploaded to a box file. So you still have to have 3 hard copies when you arrive on site. But if you have the information ahead of time and can fill that out and upload it, it helps Wendy to know how many evaluators she's going to need in any of the departments. So for instance, we have somebody who's kind of on call to do plant pathology or entomology. If we don't have any entries in those areas, then we don't need to fulfill that. We don't have to hire those judges officially. Or if we do, and we need to try to find somebody, then we know that that is the case. But it should be set up so that you can not only download that exhibit list, but also upload it once it has been completed, rather than emailing it to Wendy and then she emails it to me. And then there's a lot of round robin that was happening. We're trying to avoid that if at all possible. So it should be set up so that you can download and then upload in that box file. Just make sure that you rename the file with your county in the file name, so that we know which county has been able to do that. And if you have questions, please do reach out to myself, reach out to Wendy. We'll do the best we can. So I think that just leaves it if there are any other questions. There's still a lot of unknowns, and I'm sorry for that, but these are things that are outside of our control when working with a totally different and separate entity. So anyone have any questions? Okay. Well, we are always happy to answer questions via email or reach out to us. We will get back to you as soon as we can. And one little plug left is I still need 4 host families for the Japanese exchange. They're getting on a plane in 5 days. They need homes, folks. And these are kids that had homes slated for them, and their host families, their potential host families, withdrew their applications. So this is why we are scrambling so much. So if you know anyone that has teenage boys that would be willing to host, has a bed, they don't have to have their own room, they just need a bed to share with their sibling, please let me know. Please reach out, share information, help us help them find a new home. All right, folks, have a fantastic day and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.